Well, last night in Virginia, it was the debate between the two candidates for Attorney General, the incumbent Republican Jason Miyares and the Democrat challenger, Jay Jones. Jay Jones, a man who, well, used to be a member of the House of Delegates, has a law license for sure, but has actually never prosecuted a case by himself, and a man who famously was caught with reckless driving and excessive speeding, going 116 in a 50-mile-per-hour zone, was sentenced to 1,000 hours community service, and he spent 500 of those hours doing community service to his own political action committee, and a man who we've now learned sent text messages to a colleague in the House of Delegates fantasizing about the murder of the Speaker, a Republican at the time, and the murder of his two children and police officers, murders that would help him advance his political policies. That's why he wanted those people murdered, hypothetically. And of course, not one Democrat in America holding elected office or running for elected office has withdrawn their endorsement of Jay Jones. That's where things stand right now in that race. And it's become a bit of a bellwether for politics in America right now. Election day is just a little over 2 weeks away. We want to show you how this debate went, because Jay Jones, well, he came with quite an interesting strategy. Basically, he said, yeah, sure, I did all those things and it's bad, but here's the deal. If you elect me, I'll be like Letitia James. I'll be like Fani Willis. I'm going to prosecute Trump. Vote for me. Forget about all that other stuff. Forget about law and order in Virginia. Forget about all the illegal immigrant gang members who are murdering and raping. Forget about all the pedophiles in Virginia and the carjackings in Virginia. Elect me your attorney general, and I'll get Trump. You think I'm overstating the case? Let's watch the debate.
Why should voters trust your judgment moving forward?
Well, look, Brett, I want to say one thing. Jason Miyares can't prosecute a case against Donald Trump, that's for sure. And I will also say this. I was held accountable by my party, and I deeply, deeply respect that. But what about when Donald Trump used incendiary language to incite a riot to try to overturn an election here in this country? What about when Winsome Sears used violent language about people who disagree with you and her and your extreme position on abortion? What about when John Reed shared Nazi porn? You haven't said a word. I've taken accountability for my mistakes. It's time you take accountability too.
And let me ask you just one more time, Delegate Jones, just so we're clear and the voters understand, why do you think they should trust your judgment based upon these two events that we've discussed?
I've taken accountability for my mistakes, and I know that people in Virginia right now demand and deserve leaders who accept when they make mistakes and can acknowledge that and have been held accountable. This job right now demands someone who will hold Donald Trump accountable. For the last 9 months, Jason's had 50 chances to sue the administration to protect us, to protect our workers, to protect our health care, to protect our K-12 funding for law enforcement. And his office hasn't done a thing because he's too weak and too scared to stand up to the president.
You saw the messaging, right? First of all, it's remarkable. Jay Jones kept saying, I took accountability and I've been held accountable. How exactly? How? You're still in the race. You're still raising money. You still could potentially be the attorney general. Nobody has withdrawn their endorsement of you. I've been held accountable because I got 2 weeks of really bad press and people have asked me really hard questions. And I've dropped in the polls. See, I've been held accountable. That's not accountability. And by the way, did you notice that the question was asked once and then the moderator had to follow up? The question was not, were you held accountable? The question was not, will you prosecute Trump? The question was not anything about anything else. And by the way, if you had Nazi porn on your bingo card, well, you really did win. I wasn't expecting that one, whatever the hell he was talking about. The question was, why should voters trust your judgment given these things that you have done? And he never answered that question. The answer to every question in this debate last night was Trump. I mean, it may work. That's the problem, because this is all we've heard from Democrats for the last 10 years. That's all they've got. But did you hear that one thing? Jason Miyares refuses to sue Trump. He's an attorney general, and he won't sue Trump. He's Trump's guy. He's Trump's this, Trump that, and I'll go after Trump and Trump. Well, Jason Miyares had a really interesting response to that. Watch.
First, even when it conflicted with the national Republican priorities. You have 2 minutes.
Virginians, I ask you to all go on Wavy TV 10 NBC affiliate that did a truth tracker on Jay Jones' false ad. And his ad alleging what he's saying about myself, they rated it as false. Why? Because I call balls and strikes. The reality, I've sued both administrations, the Trump administration and the Biden administration.
I mean, we'll let this clip play out because it's really strong, and I want you to see, because sadly too much of this race has been about Jay Jones and what a pathetic jerk he is. Jason Miyares is a rising star, a child of Cuban immigrants. He's been a very effective attorney general for Virginia, and the best part of this whole thing is he won't go after Trump. He won't go after Trump. Jason Miyares is like, I literally sued the Trump administration. I literally did. Yeah, I mean, he can't make it up. All right, so watch this, because he really does deserve your attention.
I have sued to protect our veterans and their GI benefits. I've always put Virginians first. But the reality is, Jay Jones is not a prosecutor. He is a politician. He wants to turn this into a political office. The largest division in the Attorney General's office is the criminal division. And every day, I work to make Virginians more safe, more prosperous. That's been our mission. He wants to fight the fights in Washington. My interest is fighting the fights and putting the bad guys away out of our streets. That has been our record. That was my promise to you. This office is an executive office. If Jay Jones wants to fight the fights in Washington, he should run for Congress. But he's running for the wrong office. He's asking you to hire him to be the top prosecutor. And I have to make this observation. He keeps saying that he is sorry. Jay, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't be running. If you really understood the ramifications of what you said about an innocent mom and her children, you know Todd Gilbert. You served with him. Jennifer would come to the General Assembly. She would bring her children. We would see them run in the hallways. They were 2 and 5 years old at the time. This wasn't a hypothetical. This wasn't some figure that you know from far away. You actually know Todd. This is a flesh and blood, real husband. Jennifer is a real mom. These are real kids. How in the world could you ever show compassion and comfort a grieving mother that has ever lost a child to violence? Because Virginians, there is no cry like the cry of a mother that has lost her child. A prosecutor knows this because they've stood in that courtroom. Jay Jones has never understood this because he's not a prosecutor. He's a politician trying to save his career.
Delegate Jones, along those same lines, do you believe that Attorney General Miyares has placed alignment with President Trump's national agenda over the interests of Virginia? And if you do, please be as specific as you can where you think that has occurred. You have 90 seconds.
Well, he's talking a lot about prosecuting cases, but he can't seem to prosecute a case against Donald Trump to save his life. He mentioned one, and that is respectable.
Okay, fine. He mentioned one. By the way, what a great question from the moderator there, huh? No political bias built into that question. Whew. But that was powerful, and that was important, and it was really well done by Jason Miyares specifically about those horrendous text messages. And the fact is, like, you know this guy. You met his wife. You met their children. They've been running around the halls of the House of Delegates. What the hell is wrong with you, you despicable, evil monster? Okay, he didn't add that last part, but he should have. And then later in the debate, Miyares confronted Jay Jones directly on this stuff. Remember that incredible moment in the governor's debate when Winsome Sears turned to Abigail Spanberger and wanted her to address this issue. And Spanberger just sat there creepy and silent, I mean, like menacing silent, because she didn't know how to respond. She didn't know what to say, or she knew what to say, but she couldn't say what she wanted to say. Because what she really wanted to say was, yeah, well, screw Republicans. They do deserve 2 bullets in the head. But her handlers advised her not to do so. Well, Miyares addressed Jay Jones directly as well.
Right now, you may say that you are sorry, but look back at what happened. You had 3 years to say you're sorry, Jay, and you didn't. 3 years to actually recognize what you did was horrific. You chose to stay silent. Carrie Cornier called you out then. You doubled down. It was after she called you out for these text messages that is when you said you advocated for violence against children. And when this became public, we now know your first statement wasn't saying I'm sorry. The words I'm sorry wasn't even in your statement. It was to say we all send text messages we regret. You attacked the president and you attacked me.
There's more here, and I want to share as much as I can, so watch this.
Of Virginia. And let's be clear. There's a reason why the Fraternal Order Police, the PBA, and every single major law enforcement association in the state of Virginia has not just endorsed me, Jay, They have said you need to drop out. And I find it a little bit stunning that today you say one of the pillars of your public safety platform is protecting children. Were you protecting Jennifer's children when you said you wanted to see them die in their mother's arms? How can anybody who's ever worked in any of the crimes against children, all of the areas of federal and state local law department, how can they ever take you seriously, be the top prosecutor, knowing that you view that children should die to advance a political agenda? It's unconscionable, and if you were truly sorry, you would not be running for this office because you disqualified yourself.
Yeah, well done there. And one more, this one specifically on that reckless driving charge and the fact that Jay Jones, who wants to be the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, got off with less than a slap on the wrist. You see, other people who are arrested in the same week or month going even less fast over the speed limit. You know, he was going 116. There were people who were arrested doing 90, 95. Who ended up losing their license and going to jail, but not Jay Jones. No, that gifted, amazing, anointed individual who we should all be just thrilled that he walks amongst us. He's so special. He got 1,000 hours community service, half of which he served at his own political action group. Well, Miyares laid that out there about how this disqualifies him from being Attorney General. It even disqualifies him from getting a job in the Attorney General's office.
Based on the incident involving Mr. Jones, how would you define the line between protected, albeit inappropriate, political speech and a communication that is legally prohibited? And you can address Mr. Jones's position as well. You have 90 seconds.
The reality is that Jay Jones was in court for going 116 miles an hour on Interstate 64. 4 people were in court that day, were going roughly the same speed. 3 of those 4 people got suspended or active jail sentence. But Jay Jones is a politician. And he asked the court not to give him any of that, to give him community service. And instead, we now know he misled the court. That community service, it wasn't done for a charity. It was done for his own political action committee that he controlled. And the reality, Jay, is that your text messages that advocated for violence against innocent children, Jay, if you were to apply to be a line prosecutor in not just my office, any attorney general office in the country, you would not pass a background check. And right now, you may say that you are sorry, but look back at what happened. You had 3 years to say you're sorry, Jay, and you didn't. 3 years to actually recognize what you did was horrific. You chose to stay silent. Carrie Cornier called you out then. You doubled down. It was after she called you out for these text messages that is when you said you advocated for violence against children.
All right, and you've already seen the rest of that clip, but it's very, very strong stuff. So we've been writing this news cycle for quite some time, and we've been sharing a lot about this election, not just because it's in our backyard here at the studios for our program, but also because this is a bellwether indicator about where politics happens to be in America right now. Historically, in Virginia and in New Jersey, the party that just lost last year's election ends up doing well. It's what happened in 2021, 4 years ago, when Joe Biden won the presidency. And the next year, for the first time in quite some time, Republicans swept into statewide office in Virginia, winning the governor's race with Youngkin, the lieutenant governor's race with Winsome Earl Series, who's now running for governor, and winning the attorney general's race with this man, Jason Miyares. So it is important. So where do things stand? After everything that we've seen in the news for the last couple of weeks with this remarkable governor's candidate, Abigail Spanberger, who won't give a straight answer on illegal immigration and ICE and whether she would allow law enforcement to cooperate with ICE. She won't give a straight answer on transgender policies in the schools, something that she's voted on. She's in favor of men going into little girls' rooms and exposing themselves to girls against their consent. And of course, she is completely silent about the Jay Jones violent text message. After all of that, where do things stand now? And bear in mind, Abigail Spanberger had a 17-point lead in the polls as recently as May. Where do things stand? Well, here's the latest poll from Trafalgar. And yes, Trafalgar is a Republican-leaning pollster. True, but they also nailed the 2021 election, like nailed it within a couple of tenths of percentage points. They poll Virginia better than any other polling group I've seen because notoriously the establishment pollsters in Virginia undercount Republicans. Trafalgar has models and statistical analysis that better represents Republican voters. So Trafalgar's latest poll. For governor, Spanberger, she's got a 2-point lead. That's within the margin of error, 6.4%, not sure. Attorney General Jason Miyares is now catapulted in the lead. He was 5 points down about 6 weeks ago. He's now 5 points up and almost hitting the 50% mark, 49.5 to 44.6. Lieutenant Governor, upstart, first-time politician. Actually, he was a talk radio host. John Reed from Richmond. He's in a dead heat with lunatic state assembly member Ghazala Hashmi, 46.2 to 46.1. That's devastating. And that's all the polls showing that trend. Some polls show it a little bit wider of a margin. This is the closest one we've seen, but all polls show this trend 2.5 weeks out from Election Day. Do you know how desperate the Democrats are in Virginia right now? Do you want to see the panic button that they've just pushed? Look at their latest endorsement ad for Abigail Spanberger. This guy.
Virginia's elections are some of the most important in the country this year, and I am proud to endorse Abigail Spanberger for governor. Republican policies are raising costs on working families so billionaires can get massive tax cuts. As governor, Abigail will stand up for Virginia families. She'll work to build an economy that works for everyone, not just big corporations and the wealthy. But it won't happen without you. Every vote counts, so turn out and vote for Abigail Spanberger for governor on November 4th.
Wow, he seemed really thrilled and excited and happy to do this, didn't he? Also, by the way, he doesn't have a real great track record of swooping in at the last minute and endorsing candidates, does he? I mean, the last high-profile endorsement he gave was he put his entire personality, credibility, and legacy on the line to endorse Kamala Harris, and that did not end well. I also want to just fact-check this real fast, because there's something about this race and the New Jersey race that we'll get to in a second, and the New York City governor's race, or mayor's race, which is really driving me nuts as a political analyst, as an American, as somebody with a functioning, logical brain. Because all three of these races, they're using this buzzword, affordability. We're going to make things affordable. Zohran Mamdani is going to make New York City affordable. Okay, dude, Abigail Spanberger is going to make things affordable. Watch this ad with me and see if you see what I see.
Virginia's elections are some of the most important in the country this year, and I am proud to endorse Abigail Spanberger for governor. Republican policies are raising costs on...
All right, hold on. Look at the graphic there. He's talking about Republican policies raising prices on things, making things more expensive, okay? And what do they give as evidence? Trump tariffs push costs higher. Now, first of all, there's no actual economic evidence to suggest that. In fact, most of the headlines I've seen in economic analysis of the tariffs suggest it's the opposite. The tariffs haven't made a difference. We've talked about that on the show, but let's take for granted that this is a fact. Let's just take for granted that Trump's tariffs are pushing costs higher, okay? Now watch the next one.
Working families so billionaires can get massive tax cuts.
Trump's tax law will mostly benefit the rich, okay? You see the pattern here? Okay, go ahead.
As governor, Abigail will stand up for Virginia families.
Right. Okay. Can someone explain to constitutional law genius Barack Obama, who apparently has never seen Schoolhouse Rock before, exactly what a state governor is going to be able to do about Trump's tariff policies and Congress's federal tax policies? I'll give you the answer. Nothing. A governor has nothing to say about that. So even if you buy the premise that things are more expensive because of tariff policies and tax policies, a governor can literally do nothing about it. The only thing a governor can do to make things more affordable for the people in her or his state is to lower taxes, something Abigail Spanberger refuses to do. In fact, she will raise taxes. She will also put policies out there that will make energy costs higher, one thing that a governor can do something about. Her opponent, ironically, has policies that will make energy cheaper in Virginia, and she's going to eliminate the car tax, which will make things more affordable in Virginia. So in other words, Abigail Spanberger knows that this focus group tested word affordability is really important right now, but she literally has no policies will affect it in any way whatsoever. And this ad belies that fact. It's maddening, and it makes no sense. You know how bad things are for Abigail Spanberger and for her counterpart, Mikey Sherrill, running basically in the Abigail Spanberger costume up in New Jersey to be governor. This is how bad things are. Here's Hakeem Jeffries endorsing them and using them as great examples of the mojo and power behind the Democrats right now.
And there are opportunities to volunteer in different ways as it relates to Abigail Spanberger's gubernatorial campaign in Virginia and Mikey Spanberger's gubernatorial campaign in New Jersey.
God, he is a gifted politician, isn't he? Mikey Spanberger. I mean, he confuses them. I guess the awfuls, you know, the affluent white female liberals, they all look alike to Hakeem Jeffries. They're all Spanbergers. It's Mikey Sherrill. How do I know the Democrat candidate better than Hakeem Jeffries does? That's embarrassing. Oh, speaking of New Jersey, the latest poll there, she's toast. This is the Insider Advantage poll that got released this week. Ciccarelli, the Republican, sitting at 43% right now. Sherrill down to 37%. She's toast. She's absolute toast, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's where the trends are. Political analysts will tell you that in the final weeks of a campaign, if there is a wave, if there is a tide, if there is a momentum in one direction, you want to be with that momentum, not spending all your time pushing back against that momentum. Right now, Abigail Spanberger, desperately clinging to Barack Obama and propping him out there against his will, looked like a hostage video, saying, please say something about me, say something good about me. That, my friend, is not the side of the political tide you want to be on in the final days of a campaign. Understand something. Abigail Spanberger has been presenting herself as a moderate centrist this entire time. She wants to win in an arguably bluish purple state by saying, you don't have to fear me. I'm not a crazy radical left-wing Democrat. I'm a moderate conservative Democrat. You can trust me. I won't go crazy. And at the last minute, you bring in the community organizer, Barack Obama, to save your butt. You are screwed.